Hello, family. Curt Bragg here, coming to you with this week's Reflect. Once again, we're basically just reflecting on the previous service, and I'm going to touch on the service before and just kind of highlight some things, maybe invoke some questions, and maybe answer some questions, and that's kind of the goal here. This is our third time we've done this, and so hopefully you all are starting to listen to some of these, and maybe it invokes some questions for service, and submit those as mentioned to either go to our website and submit with the hashtag reflect, or you can send an email to the church and just put in reflect in there. So anyway, I wanted to first talk about Chris Gargas's message 2 weeks ago, Sunday. Well, a week ago Sunday, I guess it was. A week ago Sunday about, and he talked. Basically he was talking about champions and some of the different things that they do, but some of the things he went into was about priorities and how he had to get his priorities straight. And it's very easy to be out of balance, and that, put God first, family, your work, whatever your occupation is, however you're making money, and then your ministry. And so it's easy to get that out of balance, and I want to highlight that because that's an important thing that a lot of Christians get out of balance. A lot of people get them out of balance, and it's easy to do, especially when you get involved and have obligations in ministry. It's easy to begin to put that in front of family, and put it in front of your job, and put it in front of sometimes even God. Sometimes the ministry becomes unfortunately, a higher priority than what we put even on the Lord. So I want to make sure that you all hear what Chris had to say, which was very good, and that perspective in your priority, and keep a just balance. And that's something that I found that's difficult, but if you can keep a just balance, if you can keep those important things, if you can put God first, as you do those things, God will begin to open up time. You'll see time expand, that you can do those things, that you can spend that time in ministry that you want to do. You can spend the time with your family. And so if you get the priorities right, those are God-given priorities, that your time will expand. And how many times have you done something and all at once it seems like you really didn't get anything done? And I'm not saying that you had your priorities out of whack, but sometimes we have to look, and that is what happened. Is our priorities out of whack? Our time just seems to collapse on us, and then all at once we feel like, because of obligation, we need to jump something in front of something else, because we've not done that to begin with, and now we've got our time upside down, and we're trying to scratch and claw to get back in order. And so I just wanted to highlight that because it's very important. It's an elementary thing in with God. However, it's a daily walk. And so those two things, the most elementary things of God are a daily walk, and that we have to walk out, and that's one of them. And if we do that properly, we will certainly see the benefits. Maybe you don't see it right away, but you'll see the benefits of an increase in time, an increase of guidance, and blessing throughout the way. And so I want to go from that and segue into Pastor Joel's message, because some of the things that he shared, which is putting an importance on God, meditating on God, is basically highlighting that priority, highlighting that as a priority in our life, highlighting God as a priority in our life. And it's so easy to say, as Christians, it becomes a cliche thing, and we it's something that we continually are saying whether we're doing it or not. I would guess would be the easiest way to put that. Put God first. It's I struggle with it. If you don't struggle with it, I'd say you're not. I'd say you're out of balance because struggling with trying to keep those priorities right and putting God first and everything is part of our walk as a Christian. And so I wanted to talk about some of the things that, once again, that Pastor Joel mentioned, and and one of the things he brought up was about our past and how our past can, good or bad, it will continually come up in our lives in little nuggets and pieces here and there with maybe we hear something, maybe we smell something, grandma's cooking, whatever it may be, from times gone by. Maybe we and what will happen is those sensitive things, those things that are maybe that are not been dealt with properly, sometimes will come to surface when a certain act, word, smell, something like that comes up, and memory, somebody to remind you. Maybe you'll see a person that you haven't seen in a while, and all at once you're thinking of all the things they did to you. Maybe you went to school with them, maybe you worked with them, and maybe they didn't treat you well. And so our past is something we have to deal with, and we have to, if we get our priorities in order, and we deal with our past in the priority order, because everything goes back to that. And that's why I wanted to put that foundation out there today, is that if we put God first about our past, play on words there, if we put God first about our past, then He will help us get through that, even though it may be very sensitive to us. And maybe a sensitive time, here we just came through Thanksgiving, and so sometimes we interact with people we haven't interacted with in a while, and that sometimes brings back a childhood memory. And that was something that Pastor Joel had mentioned, childhood memories. And those that grew up in a Christian home, they still got childhood memories. And unfortunately, most of the time we're thinking of the bad things, but we got good memories too of our grandma or grandpa or mom or dad or somebody. Maybe they've passed on, maybe they're still with us, but yet maybe we don't spend the time with them like we used to, and so forth. But I want to highlight that. What about our past with God? How's that? We're not going to live in the past, but we need to what's God brought you through? What's God done for you? Where's God healed you? Where's God taken you from a financial lack? What kind of past do you have with God that can help you in the future? We can't live in the past. The past, that thing, that problem that we dealt with, that God seen us through. It may be a new problem today. It may be something like that, but yet we can lean on God. Once again, we put God first. We can lean on Him, and He will see us through again. He'll do it again. And so, I want to make sure that when these past things come up, also remind yourself. The Bible tells us to remind ourselves of the goodness of God. Remind ourselves of the things that God's done for us. And, a lot of times we hear, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be at school, whether it be in our families, and sometimes even at church, it's not about what you've done, it's what you've done for me lately. It's not about how good you were, it's how good you are. And so, while that's maybe true to live in today, the reminder of those things that God's taken us through, and those things where it seemed like we were alone in the valley of shadow of death, and God walked us through. God's seen us to the other side. And those types of things can get us through the moment that maybe we're, leaning on our own understanding at the time or whatever, and we can look back at that past. So put some markers in your mind, I guess, for what God's done for you, and highlight those with kind of what He's brought you through, so that you can go back to those, and it can be something that propels you to your future. It's not going to be the same. It's going to look different, but yet we can be assured that God's going to see us through. And so that was something there that I felt not only overlapped or was similar to a week and a half ago when Chris spoke, but also it stands alone that we need to know what God's done for us. And so our past, once again, can be ugly, and there's all of that in there. And so as we see that, we just need to continue to say, one of the things that I'm reminded of is because when sometimes it can look so bleak that you're like, God, where are you, type of thing. And I look back at some of the times when God did something. Whatever it was He did. He answered a prayer. He did something that was so unexplainable, and it was so Him, that there was no doubt that God was real. And so sometimes that particular thing or something of that nature can help you even look to God for your circumstance, because sometimes that's where the trouble is. And so anyway, I want to talk about that. Meditate on the Lord day and night was something that Joel had mentioned, and that can be difficult in itself. Once again, if we get our priorities in line. However, we know that when we're doing our job, we may be able to talk to the Lord during certain down times, but we're supposed to focus on what we're doing. When we're with our family, we're supposed to focus on our family. God's not asking us to He's just asking to be the center. He's not asking to control that situation. Just be the center. And so, but we are apostles for Christ, and that's something He mentioned. So we're representing Him too. Basically, the Bible says we're sojourners in a foreign area, foreign nation, because we're Christians, and this isn't our home. And so, because of that, we're apostles, we're ambassadors. We're to show the love of Christ. We're to show what it is to be like Christ, and that's what a Christian is, to be like Christ. So, a couple other things, and we'll be done here. Who is the author of your life? Who basically is the beginning and end of your life, and so we need to put God first, and that starts with that. If we know Him as the author, maybe we met Him late in life, or, midway through life, early in life, whatever. He's still the author of our life. He's still the beginning of He still breathed life into every being. So, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter where you are, in a sense, as long as you keep your priorities straight. Remember that your past can help propel you in the future if you allow it, if you keep those priorities straight, and that God wants to get good to you. It just may not look like what you think it should, and it may not be the path that you would have chosen. However, He wants to see you through to the other side. And so anyway, thank you so much for, and hopefully you submit some questions, and we can continue. And so next week we'll have another reflect for you. Thank you.